shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. A young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who operate above the law.
Hey, it's me. Welcome to Trump Mafia. Now, midterms are really the halfway point. And I know it's January, but I really see midterms as being the halfway point. I want to take a look back and see who the worst enemies were for the Trump nation and the development of the Trump presidency. Now, oddly enough, I'm going to exclude everybody on the left because they're all the enemy and they're all resisting and obstructing, but they've not been successful. They're incompetent. They haven't even put a dent into what President Trump has been doing. In fact, quite the opposite. They shoot themselves in the foot, and everything they tried backfires, and it's amusing. And so I don't see a threat, and whatever resistance there was, it's been failure after failure after failure. Whether you're talking about the travel ban, or net neutrality, or climate change, actions in court, and everything that they're trying to do to try and prevent President Trump from doing his job for the American people, it has all failed. So I never saw a threat from the left. They're too insignificant, and they don't have power, and you can always count on liberals being incompetent. Now, I do see an enemy of the Trump nation, and this is the fifth column. These are people on the inside. And that has always been a danger. Hence, I talked about these people the most. Because these people really do damage. Because they can inflict damage while pretending to be on the right side. And they even get support from Trump supporters, which is very odd. Because many times they're just plain undermining the Trump presidency in different ways. Now, I know that some of you follow or like some of these people, and that's your problem, that's not my problem. But I'm here to tell you that the worst culprit, the worst traitor, the worst enemy of the Trump nation in these last almost 2 years has been Steve Bannon. Because Trey Gowdy, the Albino Gecko, he has been slow-walking stuff. He's been praising Mueller, but at the same time, Devin Nunes used him as staff, like a staff lawyer, to go do this and run errands. And, he didn't do much in his own committee. But Trey Gowdy, because of Chairman Nunes, was forced to work. Hilarious. So, even though he's a never-Trumper, and he never really does anything, he was forced to do something. But you notice that even after Nunes exonerated Trump, Trey Gowdy rushed to the CNN studio to explain how it doesn't mean anything, that the Nunes investigation is not really anything that people should really care about, really undermining Chairman Nunes. But that's Trey Gowdy. But he's just a rep. He's not even a senator. And so he doesn't have power, as you may think. And he's a numbnuts. Trump never even talked to him in almost 2 years, or 3 years if you include the Trump campaign. And it's all hype, and Trump had this guy's number a long time ago, since 2015, and the theater show, that was the Benghazi hearings. Trey Gowdy's a nobody, and now he's leaving Congress. It's like a nobody times 2, and yeah, he'll show up as a Fox News talking head, but who cares about that? I don't even watch Fox News. But Sloppy Steve, Bourbon Bannon, he actually cost us a Senate seat in Alabama. And I remember in 2017, everybody was telling me, it's Trump's wingman, and it's because of Bannon that Trump won, and they're all regurgitating and vomiting the talking points from the NymphoWhores and Barf Bart, and that comes from Bannon himself. He's his own biggest fan, and he was a Hollywood guy making movies, and now he's making movies again to try and make a comeback of sorts. But this guy endorsed a guy that Trump did not endorse. And that in itself is an act of betrayal, because you're pulling Trump supporters into supporting a candidate that Trump does not support. And why? Because Steve Bannon knew that Roy Moore was not going to win against a Democrat, because he had some issues, and it's not even whatever they accused him of doing, it's just that he's like a weirdo and like kind of kooky and not a mainstream candidate. I mean, forget the accusations and all of that. That was just like the icing on the cake, or the icing on the corpse. And yeah, we lost the Senate seat. And at the time, Sloppy Steve was saying he wants to get rid of Mitch McConnell. And the New York Times asked him, so that's like your personal objective? And he said, at this time, 1 year ago, to the New York Times, that yes, in a year from now, Mitch McConnell will not be majority leader anymore, meaning that he was working to make sure Democrats got control of the Senate. And so he did proceed in trying to do that, but he found out very quickly that he has no friends. And he zoomed into oblivion. Then the left wing resurrected this corpse, this disgusting slug, and suddenly he's on Yahoo, on MSNBC, on Bloomberg, and all these left-wing festivals, and it's Sloppy Steve. And I was wondering, why is the left resurrecting this guy? Because Democrats know that he delivered a Senate seat to the Democrats. And still you have people saying, but he's Trump's wingman. Now then Trump comes out and calls him Sloppy Steve and all of that. And, he was leaking the whole time he was in the West Wing. And people were still telling me he's Trump's wingman. And so he's exposed by President Trump himself. Then he makes one movie, Trump's War or whatnot. I told you he's a Hollywood guy. Steve Bannon is the Michael Moore of the right, you could say, but they're both liberals, they're both failed movie makers, and they both believe that, they're special. And in the way that Michael Moore will come out and saying Trump will win, and other times he's saying Trump will lose, or Trump is Hitler, you have Sloppy Steve doing the same thing, saying that Trump has dementia. The next week he's like, Trump is a hero. I mean, these people are exactly the same. Michael Moore and Sloppy Steve. May they both go to an island, right? And in the end they will try to eat each other. Who'd win in that wrestling match on the island, right? The loser gets eaten by the other guy. But honestly, you make a movie and then some of these people are back supporting Steve Bannon. So it shows that you have a lot of people out there, they're not Trump supporters. Because if you can give Steve Bannon any kind of a chance, after he was leaking from the West Wing, adding to all the chaos, and leaking to MSNBC, helping Democrats, and then even delivering them a Senate seat, that you can still support Sloppy Steve because of some movie he makes, I mean, that's pathetic. And so, yeah, I blame everybody that supports Steve Bannon for being retarded. And so he attacked Mitch McConnell. But he failed in a big way. And it's Uguay, Mitch McConnell, who got the tax cuts, who shot down every Democrat attempt to attack Trump in 2018. And then he did an amazing job for Judge Kavanaugh. And then Sloppy Steve was there. Mitch McConnell did a great job. Yeah, what an asshat. If it were up to Sloppy Steve, Mitch McConnell would have been gone in 2017. So we're talking about an idiot who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And he's been going overseas like a gypsy, selling pots and pans playing his violin. And it's that World Patriots, the Great Awakening. What the hell is that? If you're a patriot, you can only be a patriot of one country, your own country, and you shouldn't give a rat's ass about patriots in other countries. It's America first, not, hey, America and UK and Australia first. No, F that. America first, everybody else second, or everybody else last. So there is no such thing as world patriots. What Sloppy Steve is trying to do, and many people seem to join him in that, is creating some type of globalism, but a different kind of globalism. And I don't believe in that. Trump doesn't believe in that. But you have some people and they care more about UK or what happens in UK or Austria. And I'm like, F that. Who the hell cares? And so what I believe in, what Trump believes in, is in having great allies. Now, it's very hard to work with the EU. It's a socialist empire. So, of course, if Austria decides to, get a nationalist in, protects the borders and so on, that's great. You can support that. But that doesn't mean that you can go over there and tell them, hey, I have the Trump formula for success, and now we're going to do that. And that's what Sloppy Steve is doing. If he's really a nationalist, then why in the hell is he participating with political parties in Austria or Holland or Sweden or even Australia? And how is that even possible? You cannot be a nationalist and a patriot if you're working for political parties in other countries. I mean, where's your loyalty? And so what he's trying to do is create some type of globalism. Now, it's an oxymoron, a globalist nationalist movement. It's pathetic. A worldwide nationalist movement. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. It cannot exist. It doesn't make any sense. And that's why I believe Sloppy Steve came up with it while he just finished a couple of bottles of vodka. Or bourbon. That's why I call him Bourbon Bannon. But to be honest, he has been the worst because, number one, helping in the chaos of 2017, you had Comey, you had all these leaks from the deep state, and then he adds his leaks about Javanka, about Trump having dementia, being under house arrest, and it's like he knew everybody else was leaking, so he added to the chaos, and they were trying to get rid of President Trump even in 2017. And Sloppy Steve was part of it, not to mention that he begged Trump not to fire James Comey. And after he was fired, he goes on 60 Minutes and says, that was the worst political blunder in U.S. history. And of course he's wrong again. This guy is always wrong. And so he's a complete retard, and people that follow him are, by definition, also retards. He seems intelligent only to retards that are even more retarded than he is. I mean, it's a psycho circus. Okay, a retarded gypsy selling pots and pans and a stupid movie. Any takers? And then, of course, what clinches it is really that he ran a company with Harvey Weinstein, the serial rapist, in Santa Monica. And if that doesn't tell you what you need to know, then nothing else will. But okay, people are so easily had by the media, the fake news media. Now, the NymphoWhores, I will tell you that they've been sycophants and followers of Sloppy Steve, regurgitating his poison and spreading it to other people. And it's sad, because NymphoWhores could have been a valuable ally, but in 2017 they chose to undermine Trump. Why? Because, in my opinion, I believe they took money from Iran or something related to Iran or Syria, because every time Trump does his job as commander-in-chief, they're taking the side of Iran and Syria. Just like Louis Farrakhan, who was just in Iran, and Obama and Valerie Jarrett, they love Iran, and so does Alex Jones. Now, doesn't that feel suspicious to you? And so you had him choosing a different side, and saying F Trump and F Ivanka, and really obsessed about Ivanka because they're Jewish, I guess, but also to help Sloppy Steve. But there's a difference. Spandex Bones was never in the West Wing leaking to Joe Scarborough and others, and he wasn't there trying to help Mueller to connect Roger Stone to WikiLeaks and the White House. Spandex Bones just a charlatan, a clown, selling vitamins. 98% of his revenue is selling vitamins. Honestly, he doesn't even care about politics. It's all a show to get people to watch and then buy vitamins. That's it. And again, whoever doesn't get that is too dumb to even listen to this video. Go away. And I'm sorry to be harsh, but these people have undermined the Trump presidency. But I will say Sloppy Steve is much worse than somebody like Spandex Bones. And I believe in freedom of speech, right? So if the guy is, saying F Trump, fine. But then if I have retards telling me that he's a big Trump supporter, I mean, the phrase F Trump doesn't even come into my whole mind, not even for a millisecond, let alone me saying it, even if I'm frustrated. It's just, he's a left-winger. Spandex Bones is a left-winger who happens to like guns. But that doesn't mean he's a conservative. But okay. I'm the one-eyed man in the land of the blind often, and I'm taking advantage. I'm like the invisible man in those Japanese porno movies. Some of you may know what that means. Okay, anyway. Sloppy Steve. Spandex Bones, not as bad. Trey Gowdy, not as bad. And I will say that you have the letter of the alphabet that comes after P. Okay, so if you pee, Q comes out. So Q is urine. That's logical. After P comes Q. Or if you go to the toilet, first you pee, then something comes out, number 2, right? So Q is number 2. So Q is shit, is what I'm saying. And I know what the Q operation is, and I've talked about it, but it's so small now, it doesn't matter. But a lot of people are caught up with that. Why? Because I found out in 2017 that Trump support is pretty much divided. You have a lot of people that like Trump and they support Trump and they were there since early 2016. But then you have all those other people and they still have TDS. They don't really like Trump, but they see him as a tool to get back at the left or to get their stuff. They see him as a puppet. So many of them are still saying the same old, like, the two sides are the same, there is no difference. Well, these people haven't been paying any attention, because President Trump is exactly not like any presidents of the past. He's a people's president. And he's not there because of special interests. He's there because Trump is Trump. And he was fueled by the American people and a lot of patriotism. So how can you even say that the Trump presidency is like the left and the establishment? I mean, that's completely retarded. But okay, you have people out there that are always going to be against the government, and they're anarchists or they're foreigners or they're not people that helped make America great again. No lifers on the internet. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. And so that's the kind of rabble that the Q operation attracts. And the fake news was a kind of enemy, you could say, and maybe even worse than a Trey Gowdy, who's slow walking and burning the candle at both ends, protecting Hillary, or the Spandex Bones regurgitating the poison that came from the gypsy, Sloppy Steve, and, attacking Javanka all the time. The fake news in itself, the fake news about 60,000 sealed indictments. I mean, it's fake news. But it creates false expectations, and a lot of Trump supporters are thinking that is really true. And then they're thinking, why doesn't Trump do something about it? And then they're blaming Trump for something that is fake news, that is just made up. And so you think, okay, how can people even believe that? Or, everything that comes out of Q or the NymphoWhores, I mean, their business is fake news. And so you always laugh at the left. They're thinking that Trump is a Russian agent. They're so stupid. But then we have people saying 60,000 sealed indictments, and it's all going to go down. Boom, tomorrow, boom, nothing. And then next week it's like, boom, and then nothing. And then Trey Gowdy's a snitch. And then these left-wingers get all upset because Q attracts a lot of left-wingers. And they love Trey Gowdy. Left-wingers love Trey Gowdy because they know he's on their side, basically. He's a Democrat. And so Q's like, Trey Gowdy's a snitch. And he says, not enough views. Okay, Trey Gowdy is a white hat. And that whole white hat, black hat, what a bunch of nonsense. Politicians, it's always gray. You don't know. For example, Lindsey Graham. I mean, I would never trust the guy, but I do know that he's very intelligent. So if you have him working for you, supporting you, he's a great asset. We saw that in the Kavanaugh hearings. If he's against you, he's a jerk, right? But he's not as bad as John McDade, and he never was as bad. But all of them have something in them that makes them unreliable because they're politicians. And so President Trump knows how to handle these people, and he has a long-term plan. He's not gonna, do silly things like the fake news wants him to do, and fire everybody, and indict everyone. I mean, he would have been president for 1 year. We wouldn't have had all these jobs and everything else, or 2 Supreme Court justices, if we listened to everybody from the NymphoWhores to Sloppy Steve to, the Q operation, American Intelligence, and Gotcha News, all these fake news outlets. It's like infotainment. It's not true, yet so many people believe all that stuff. I remember last year, I always saw news about Hillary just made a plea bargain deal with the DOJ, and everybody really believed it. But what are they saying now, right? So what, that didn't happen? Or, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so depressing to know that this is how we spend our time when reality is beautiful. That's why I came up with this phrase. If Trump is doing such an amazing job, having the left melt down in such a way, then why can't you just talk about the stats and how well Trump is doing? But you notice that these people are all like having moments of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, they cannot support Trump 100%. They just cannot, because they have Trump derangement syndrome. They don't like Trump. Q people don't like Trump. That's why they never mention him. They're afraid. They're embarrassed even to wear a Trump t-shirt. So they go around with a Q t-shirt. But if you ask me, walking around with a Trump t-shirt, at least it's cool. You're talking about a president of the United States who's creating 5 million jobs in less than 2 years. And consumer confidence is through the roof. But if you wear a Q t-shirt, what does it mean? You're telling everybody that you fell for a hoax, an operation by QBrennan. It's embarrassing. I mean, you're basically saying I'm a retard if you wear anything that says Q. But yeah, just like, how can you tell people that they're crazy? How can you tell crazy people that they're crazy? They're crazy. There's no use to tell them, right? It's like you're wasting energy. But what I'm doing is just outlining what I saw in the first half of the Trump first term, and that is that the fifth column has really been the fake news, then a bunch of idiots, charlatans, Trey Gowdy, Hispanics Bones, but Sloppy Steve was really the one that delivered something for the Democrats, a Senate seat. You only have 100 senators, and if it's 50-50, it's 50 senators, right? So even one makes a difference. Like President Trump says, we have such a narrow margin, and I hope it really increases tomorrow, that if one senator has a cold, I mean, you're in trouble. But that's because we even have one less because of Sloppy Steve. In a way, the left knows that he's secretly working for them. And so to maintain that cover, you just make a movie. Trump's War, or the war on Trump, and everybody's like, oh, he's back on the Trump train. No, it's a cover while he's still doing everything he usually does behind the scenes to undermine President Trump. The truth is, he's very angry at Trump because Trump never treated him like a real campaign manager. He just had that title. He just wanted 100% positive barf Bart coverage in the last months of the campaign and the first months of the presidency, and it worked. But Sloppy Steve was probably expecting to be, some big shot, but he didn't even get an official position. He was not White House Chief of Staff. He wasn't any head of a department. Just kind of like a super duper intern, strategist, assistant, manager. And it's like, you're an intern, man. And he got so offended, and he saw that Jared Kushner got all the security clearances, all the meetings. Same with Ivanka and some of the other people, like McMaster. So you can tell from all the fake news that came out at that time, it's all Sloppy Steve venting against Ivanka, against McMaster, and against previous anybody that was part of the administration while he was stuck in his office there, not being part of the club. And one of the reasons was everybody else there was taking showers and combing their hair, and he was there, he smells, he doesn't take a bath ever, and there's fungus on his fingernails and whatnot, and it's disgusting. Why was he even allowed in the White House? But I'm saying they allowed Choco and the Sasquatch to roam around in the White House, turning it into a safari house for 8 years. So maybe some of the staff there in the White House, in the West Wing, were used to seeing people like Sloppy Steve. But they weren't used to seeing like clean-cut people like Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump. And what a difference. Anyway, he was stuck in his office and he was left out. And so he took it out by leaking to MSNBC Joe Scarborough, saying that Trump is under house arrest. And people actually believe that stuff. And what you have is a fat slug who was played, stuck in an office, venting by leaking and adding to the chaos in 2017. What a pathetic loser. So how can anybody support this guy, even for 1 nanosecond? It's beyond me. It's really beyond me. So, as I've said, it's not been that bad because, you have the liberals on Fox News. And you have some of these people like Laura ain't a gay man, or Laura is a gay man. Who knows, right? I mean, look at Mancoulter. And Mother Tucker Carlson. I mean, they've been suddenly supporting Iran and Syria against our president. Very suspicious. But then it seems they get back on board. So, it's not been that bad. And Paul Ryan, like I said, sometimes he came out with some, idiotic whatever. And that's okay. But if you look at the voting record, he's been voting like 98% along with the Trump agenda. That's okay. It's okay. So now let's talk about Jeff Sessions. Now, I've always supported Jeff Sessions because he's part of the cabinet. I support the Trump presidency. And you never know with Trump. Maybe they were working secretly on something. And I found it kind of odd how people who believe in 100,000 sealed indictments would never even entertain the thought that maybe Jeff Sessions was keeping a low profile, not to rock the boat at first. But when Jeff Sessions sent a letter not so long ago as a reply to a tweet by Trump, his boss, the letter was so condescending and so insulting that when I was reading it, I thought RatRod may have written it, but I don't care. It's in the name of Jeff Sessions, so I see it as him saying it. It was so insulting, disrespectful to his boss. From that moment onwards, I just dropped my support. Because you cannot allow that. And because he's in the DOJ and, because of the media and the special counsel, it's not so easy just to fire the guy. Maybe Trump would know that is exactly what liberals are looking for, the media, and he wouldn't give them that freebie. So he just postponed it. But Jeff Sessions has been an amazing disappointment. And that letter really said, I'm not going to be political, and really accusing Trump of trying to use the DOJ as a political tool, which is a left-wing talking point. And even Trey Gowding, a hearing, was saying the same thing. He was saying we shouldn't politicize the DOJ when Trump was talking about going after Hillary. So they're all coming out with these left-wing talking points. Look, a criminal is a criminal. If you go after criminals, that has nothing to do with politics. So the people that accuse Trump of politicizing the DOJ are in fact the people who are politicizing the DOJ by creating some kind of immunity for people that happen to be Democrats. And so Jeff Sessions has been a problem. And I don't know if he was silenced by RatRod, or if you go into the DOJ that you're zapped by some kind of a laser, or there's an initiation ritual into the Church of Justice, and then they become like priests of justice, special people, and they don't have to respond to heretics like Trump or whatnot. I don't know what it is, but it's being very strange and scary. And it really looks like they were trying to bait Trump into doing some kind of a Saturday night massacre, like before the Watergate scandal really broke out, by having Trump fire the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and so on, and a special counsel. But Trump didn't take the bait, because Trump wasn't born yesterday, and, excuse me, he's a genius, okay? Excuse me, he's a genius. People that don't realize that this guy's a genius are people that are too dumb to live. And I'm sorry I have to be harsh in this video, but I had enough. Because if you look at the midterms tomorrow, I think we're going to be great. But at the same time, it shouldn't even be any question if all of these Q people didn't exist. If these NymphoWhores people didn't exist, and Sloppy Steve didn't exist, everything would be a shoo-in. Democrats would really have nothing. What I'm saying is that the left is so incompetent, as I said in the introduction, that we don't even have to worry about them. We can set our watch to their incompetence. The enemy is always from within. And what I'm saying is that the people who are running the Q operation, the people that are running NymphoWhores, and Bourbon Bannon and his minions, they've been the problem. And the fake news that's being spread. Now, I know the internet doesn't have as much as an impact as you think, but you do have a cumulative effect. There's a reason why Trump banned Q from rallies, is because he doesn't want this Q operation to get out of hand, because it was created exactly to divide the Trump nation. So they say WW whatever instead of MAGA. And they say Q instead of T. And that's wrong. And that is exactly the purpose of that Q operation. But I will tell you that it's still very small. I mean, they're saying we're millions strong. No, they're just riding the coattails of the Trump movement, which is big. But the Q thing, it's kind of like a fringe offshoot of no-lifers and retards. And then I'm guessing that those snowflake Trey Gowdy fans, many of them are Democrats, are also the Q fans. I mean, we're all talking about the same kind of people. They have TDS. They see Trump at best as being a tool, and at worst they hate Trump. I've had many comments on several of my Q videos where you have Q people praising Q and saying that Trump should be shot and calling him the Orange Man. Yeah, these are Q people. So I have no doubt that NymphoWhores disappeared from YouTube and other platforms for breaking the TOS. I don't know about the Apple platform or Facebook because I'm not on there. I just know on YouTube they broke the live stream rule, and that one, it's very clear, and it's a cardinal rule. If you attempt to link to other places to live stream while you're under suspension and your channel may not live stream, it's an automatic ban. They will delete your channel. It's very clear. Even I know that. And, Spandex Bones thought he was above the law. But, okay. But when I look at the Apple thing, which really started the domino effect, this was after Trump had 2 dinners with Tim Cook of Apple. Now, I truly believe, and of course I don't know, but I believe that Trump had enough with NymphoWhores attacking his daughter. Just at the Ohio rally, he was praising his daughter and introducing her, saying that she's working on creating jobs. And here you have some website with this fat smurf coked up and talking about Ivanka Trump. I mean, he's not even, it's like so disgusting. You call yourself a Trump supporter and you attack the president's daughter every single day like a maniac. I mean, there's no difference being Cenk or Chunk of the Young Turks. I mean, harassing Ivanka Trump and obsessing on her, hating on her, insulting her. And the other fat smurf, Spandex Bones, doing the exact same thing. I mean, they're two sides of the same coin. Cenk and Spandex Bones. That's why they're friends offline. They put up a show all the time, but Mancoulter's also friends with that Chunk. I mean, they're all friends behind the scenes. It's controlled opposition. In fact, all of these people are controlled opposition. They have been for many decades. But I will tell you that Trump had enough. And maybe he told Tim Cook, if those people disappear from your platform, I will not cry. Something like that. And maybe Tim Cook saw that as a go-ahead, a green light, that the Godfather said, okay, he's going to look the other way if you take out this psychotic hitman that we have and we can't control the guy. Take him out. We don't care. And so it was. And I'm okay with it. It's not about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is about the government taking away your right to speak, putting you in jail and whatnot. But he has his websites. But these private companies, Apple, they don't want him. It's their right. I'm demonetized. They pull the partnership here on YouTube. But it's their right. It's a liberal website. I knew that when I signed on, that they can do that anytime they want. They come up with flimsy excuses. But it's their right, actually. Because in their TOS, it's always so vague. I mean, what they did to me, it's not because of a strike or I broke the live stream rule. I mean, there's really no reason. But still, they can still do it. Because the TOS is always made very vague. And what? I'm just a guy. I'm gonna go spend $100,000 to ask to be reinstated so I can have back a channel and make $20 in a month. Come on, doesn't make any sense, right? And that is if I win the case, or they drag it out, ends up costing me $300,000. And for what? To reinstate a partnership so I can make $20 a month. So of course there's nothing that I could do or would do. And in fact, I think by principle they can do what they want. It's a private company. But when President Trump is going after antitrust, it's Amazon, it's Facebook, Google, that they kill the competition, or they buy the competition. And that's why, you know, you look at some of the startups, they're either destroyed or they're bought up. You know, like that Gab site was taken down. Servers suddenly don't want to help them. I mean, server companies, and GoDaddy doesn't want them. And it's like this invisible force. That's what you get with monopolies. They control everything. And then suppliers, you know, want to suck up to the giants to live. And they help to kill the small guys, or the up-and-coming new websites. And that's why President Trump needs to go after them. Not because they have individual policies, but if there's mass deletion of conservatives, or hiding of the Trump hashtag and things like that, and that is also happening on YouTube, then you can talk about it, because it could be related to antitrust or to how politics are conducted, that it's one-sided, that they're using their companies to interfere in elections. But me as an individual, I mean, it's their website. What can I do, right? I'm still here. It's not like they killed my freedom of speech. Choco drinks yogurt, right? It like goes up his butt, comes out of his mouth, then he drinks it up, goes out the back, and it's a never-ending yogurt cycle. See? I'm not in jail, right? I just said it. But honestly speaking, coming back to the basics, I hope that the second half of the first term of Donald the Great will be less hampered by the fifth column. Because the left is the left. They will always be incompetent. I don't even think they can recover in like 10 or even 20 years from now. I mean, that's how deep in the hole they are. We can only be hurt by people within dividing the Trump support, creating fake news, attacking the president, his daughter, people in the cabinet. I mean, that's the problem. Or creating false expectations. I never saw Trump rally in 2016 where he said he's going to have mass arrests and military tribunals. Who made that stuff up? It's not Trump.
Shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. A young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who